Welcome to the Civility Clinic, where even the outcasts of the outcasts have access. My name is Dr. Van. I'm a Vietnamese woman with long black hair in braided pigtails, wearing a black shirt with a white collar, sitting in front of a colorful bookshelf. I'm wearing a silver necklace that is shaped like an axe, and I'm wearing an earring that is a glittery, bloody dagger. Today, we're going to watch clips from Netflix's Wednesday, which has been wildly popular and well-received. We're going to break down its representations of diversity and neurodivergence. Joining me today are a couple of sirens, as in the scales in Fang's fur, scales and stoners. We have returning guest Mariella Paulino, founder of Project Hearing and co-founder of the ALMNY conference. Welcome back, Mariella.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. My name is Mariella Paulino. I am the founder of Project Hearing. Project Hearing is a social media advocacy organization where we share best practices, tools, and just really community engagement to make the world more accessible to people with hearing disabilities. I am currently in my office. Behind me are lots of colorful pictures and photos, and I am a Hispanic woman with hair in pigtails, wearing a black shirt that has the words, "The future is accessible," in white letters.
Awesome. And we are also joined by special guest Syanne Bloom, a disabled and autistic model, activist, and author. Thank you so much for being here, Syanne. Do you want to do your intro and audio description?
Sure. So I am a sign model, disability activist, and I'm also a political science student. I am wearing a black collared shirt. The collar is white. I have two pigtails. My hair is dark brown. I have gray headphones on, and I'm sitting on my gray couch with tan bamboo blinds behind me.
A blue sky hangs over Nancy Reagan High School. A bust of the smiling First Lady stands in the entryway. Among the cheerful, colorfully dressed students walks a teenage girl with pale skin. She wears a black and white collared dress with her fringed black hair in pigtails.
I'm not sure whose twisted idea it was to put hundreds of adolescents in underfunded schools run by people whose dreams were crushed years ago.
Students and teachers eyeball her.
But I admire the sadism.
Students part as she passes. The girl, Wednesday Addams, approaches a locker with graffiti on it reading "Freak" and "Pigsley Wigsley." She opens it. A portly boy with an apple in his mouth topples out, tied up with twine. She takes the apple out of her brother Pugsley's mouth.
I want names.
Don't know who they were. Honest. It happened so fast.
Pugsley, emotion equals weakness. Pull yourself together.
She unties him and touches his hands. Her head whips back. In a vision, a group of jocks tie Pugsley up and stuff him into the locker. Her head jerks forward.
You okay?
I'm not about to confess to my brother that I've recently been plagued by visions. They come on without warning. I feel like electroshock therapy, but without the satisfying afterburn.
Wednesday? What are you gonna do?
But I do best.
She walks away. Wednesday approaches.
Yo, Dalton, look! Pigsley's sister!
A tanned player, Dalton, grins at her.
Hey, freak! This is a close practice.
The only person who gets to torture my brother is me.
Stone-faced, she holds up 2 plastic bags of piranhas. The players stare. She drops them. Underwater, the toothy fish swim free, snapping their jaws. The players thrash toward the edge of the pool. The corners of Wednesday's mouth curl upward. Dalton grips the metal ladder at the side of the pool. The piranhas attack. Blood blooms in the water.
I love that scene. I feel like that was satisfying just because they were like bullying, her brother. The way that she's introduced is like clearly she's different than everybody else. Everybody's wearing colors. She's wearing dark colors. She's not smiling. She doesn't really care about people. That's a feeling that I could relate to, where it's just like, let me get through this. I don't really want to be, in this public setting. Immediately, I think that draws us in.
I also feel like she's so cool. I love that it really introduced her as a character that was incredibly self-aware and conscious of her environment. However, that scene where they introduced the piranhas was a little bit extreme because it also, in a way, made is being different dangerous. I mean, should I expect someone neurodivergent to put piranhas in a pool. It's kind of like this and justify the mean. I think it was a very interesting scene. I think she's a very complex character with a lot of nuances.
That's a great point. And you both kind of mentioned how she's very relatable, right? She's standing up for her brother. She doesn't like bullying. Like there's an element of not quite understanding how she got there so quickly. It's just way more extreme and
Kooky.
I prefer spooky.
I mean, you've already mentioned, Syanne, like neurodivergence, right? She's been really embraced by the neurodivergent, or acclaimed, if you will, by the community. Is there anything that really stood out to you, like, oh, that is classic neurodivergence?
I think the way that she's visually introduced is how I feel inside. It may not look that way because like I camouflage and I blend in, but I very much can feel like I stick out like a sore thumb. So for me, that stood out because I know how it feels to feel like everyone's staring at you and like, because you're the odd one. You know,
right? That othering that happens.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
I think that's a fascinating question because the writers and producers have never admitted to Wednesday being neurodivergent. The actress who plays Wednesday has not come forward saying she is neurodivergent, so it could possibly be a person who's neurotypical playing someone who by the community is labeled as neurodivergent. It really is a very interesting thing that, as you said, Stephanie, that Wednesday has been adopted by the community and so many people can relate to her, but it's just so fascinating that the actual people making this show have not said, yes, she is neurodivergent.
There's sort of a accepted knowledge that Tim Burton identifies as autistic or neurodivergent, which I don't think anyone hesitates to believe that. Even though you're right, there hasn't been sort of a public statement from the creators. Maybe it's a symbol that, okay, modern pop culture and sort of a very popular, cool TV show can represent this without saying, hey, we're like tokenizing this or we're putting this on a pedestal. In a way, it's, I think it's cooler that they don't have to. Great discussion already. And we've only watched like the first minute of the episode.
Right?
All right. So fast forward, we meet Wednesday, we meet her parents, and we realize that, okay, obviously this behavior was not acceptable in this setting. So she's being sent to a special school.
Colorful furnishings take up the left side of the vast dorm room. Light shines through a rainbow spiderweb patterned window in the middle.
It's so vivid.
A blonde white girl trots over in a black and blue school uniform.
Howdy, roomie.
Wednesday, this is Enid Sinclair.
Are you feeling okay? You look a little pale.
Wednesday always looks half dead.
Enid throws out her arms.
Welcome to Ophelia Hall.
Wednesday recoils.
Not a hugger. Got it.
Please excuse Wednesday. She's allergic to color.
Oh, wow. What happens to you?
I break out into hives and then the flesh peels off my bones.
Luckily, we've special ordered you a uniform. Enid, please take Wednesday to the registrar's office to pick it up along with a copy of her schedule and give her a tour along the way.
Enid grins. Wednesday glowers at her parents and leaves the dorm room. Enid skips after her in her striped school blazer and pleated skirt.
Oh, I felt when I watched that scene, I was like, I identify as Enid. Through and through, the colors, the social, just
the hugging.
The energy. Yes, I'm definitely a hugger. I'm like, bring it in. But I thought it was really fascinating, like just watching that scene, because there are certain behaviors that you will see across the spectrum of neurodiversity. You will see people that do not like physical touch. You will meet people in the spectrum who are very outspoken and direct. I think that they did a really great job of showcasing that. It's just being able to really see what could potentially be the entire spectrum of neurodiversity all in one scene.
I feel like they're both me in some ways, because when I was younger, before I learned that I had to smile on command, I learned all that through pageantry. I was a lot more like Wednesday with the dark clothes, with the never smiling, all of that. And then when I did pageants, I became more like Enid. She's colorful, she's smiling, she's very upbeat, and she's also exaggerated, but that's how Tim Burton's movies are. I feel like I'm them mixed together, so when they meet, it's just, for me, it shows the contrast, the spectrum that is neurodiversity. Like, we have elements of these characters, whether it's just one of them or both. For me, it's both of them.
I love that you both use the word spectrum. I think that's just so on point with how autism has kind of historically tried to be understood. And like now, I think people in the community are really embracing that idea of like, we're all somewhere along this chain. And, you know, even I was thinking of a Venn diagram too, because sometimes they overlap, right? Like sometimes Enid and Wednesday are kind of similar because they're both so, I don't know, extreme or othered. Like we find out later that like Enid kind of feels a little bit either inadequate or doesn't quite fit in because she's like a late bloomer and all this stuff with the werewolf clan or crew. So yeah, I love spectrum. I love Venn diagram. And I don't think of them as opposites. I think of them as kind of like two sides of a coin almost. On different parts of the spectrum. I feel like one person could still kind of slide back and forth between them. It's not sort of like exclusive. Oh, if you're an Enid, you're always an Enid.
Exactly.
I love that.
Nevermore was founded in 1791 to educate people like us. Outcasts, freaks, monsters. Fill in your favorite marginalized group here.
You can save the sanitized sales pitch.
Welcome to the quad.
A bare tree stands in a small pool at the center.
It's a pentagon.
The whole snarky goth girl thing might have worked at Normie school, but here things are different. Let me give you a wiki on Nevermore's social scene. I'm not interested in participating in tribal adolescent cliches. Then use it to fuel your obviously bottomless pit of disdain. There are many flavors of outcasts here, but the four main cliques are fangs, furs, stoners, and scales. Those are the fangs, aka vampires. Some of them have literally been here for decades. That bunch of knuckleheads are furs, aka werewolves, like me. I'm assuming scales are sirens. You catch on quick. And that girl, Bianca Barclay, is the closest thing Nevermore has to royalty.
Scales glimmer on Bianca's deep brown skin.
Although her crown's been slipping lately. She used to date a resident tortured artist, Xavier Thorpe, but they broke up at the beginning of the semester. Reason unknown.
Fascinating.
I know, right? My blog is like the #1 source for Nevermore gossip.
Enid, you're not gonna believe the dirt I heard about your new roommate. She eats human flesh. Totally chowed down on that kid she murdered. You better watch your back.
Enid steps aside.
Quite the contrary. I actually fillet the bodies of my victims, then feed them to my menagerie of pets.
A gawky, light-skinned boy stares.
Ajax, this is my new roommate, Wednesday.
Whoa. You're in black and white. Like a living Instagram filter.
Ignore him. Gorgon spent way too much time getting stoned.
Ajax leaves.
He's cute, but clueless. You know, it's a small school and there wasn't much online about you. Oh, you know, you should really get on Insta, Snapchat, and TikTok.
I find social media to be a soul-sucking void of meaningless affirmation.
I love how they are just continuously highlighting the way that some people on the spectrum of neurodiversity communicate. It's that very direct way of communicating that I've seen with some individuals. But I think it just really set the premise for what you see in the rest of the show in creating those people that are normies. And then those students that belong to the Nevermore Academy, they are different, they are other. In the words of Enid, they are marginalized, which is kind of just cuts right to it.
I agree completely. As someone who was bullied growing up and who was othered in so many ways, like there's a place for me and there's people who would love me for me. But at the same time, it also, like that scene of her introducing all the different types of people there, it felt like kind of like Mean Girls, right? Because you got the fangs, you got the stoners.
Burnouts. Sexually active band geeks. The greatest people you will ever meet. And the worst.
Right.
Not only do I think of Mean Girls, I think of Clueless, which I think was one of the first movies I saw that had that like click introduction.
That is the Lana's group over there. They do the TV station. They think that's the most important thing on earth. And that's the Persian Mafia. You can't hang with them unless you own a BMW. And there's Elton in the white vest and all the most popular boys in the school.
I don't know. It's like a high school. But at the same time, it made me feel like there's a place where we belong and there's a place where we're accepted.
Right. There's a level for everyone, but it's that's almost like classism. It's almost like ableism. But at the same time, on the good side, it's like even the outcasts have community and identities that they can relate to. Classic hierarchy, like we're saying, levels.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it actually made me think of the movie Crip Camp. They spoke about the hierarchies of disabilities. In this show, you have the sirens at the top. They are beautiful. They are enchanting. And then you can also see all the other levels based on their popularity in a very similar way to in Crip Camp, when they talk about the hierarchy of those individuals. The more normal you are and the more you can fit in within society, within normie society, the more you are going to be adopted by the mainstream society.
I think that's perfectly said, yeah.
At night, lights glow in dozens of windows throughout the school. In her dorm room, Wednesday removes the rainbow decals on the right half of the round window. Enid steps in, wearing an outfit in shades of pink and orange.
What the hell did you do to my room? Dividing our room equally.
Wednesday kicks the decals over to Enid's side.
Looks like a rainbow vomited on your side. Silence would be appreciated. This is my writing time. I devote an hour a day to my novel. Perhaps if you did the same, your blog might be coherent. I read serial killer diaries with better punctuation. It's my truth. It's what my followers love.
Your followers are clearly imbeciles. They respond to your stories with insipid little pictures.
You mean emojis? It's how people express their feelings. You know, I realize that's a foreign concept to you.
When I look at you, the following emojis come to mind. Rope, shovel, hole. By the way, there are 2 Ds in Addams.
If you're going to gossip about me, at least spell my name correctly.
Enid dances.
Turn that off. This is your final warning.
Enid bares her candy-colored claws.
Don't mess with me. This kitty's got claws and I'm not afraid to use them.
Actually, what's really, really fascinating about Enid is that as you go through the story, there is a deeper story to Enid not being able to wolf out and I don't want to give it away any spoilers in the show, but it's just really like highlights people in general have layers to them. And I really enjoy that. She's not just there to just be the happy-go-lucky, pretty, colorful blonde girls.
You know, a lot of people have said to me, like, you don't look autistic, or people who don't really know me. And it's like, I'm sure that Enid doesn't look scary either, right? But like, she has claws, like there's things we don't know about her. And it also shows like masking. Like, I feel like Enid is masking her pain too, because she does feel left out, that she's a late bloomer or whatever. So yeah.
And it's another good example of how she feels othered or inadequate even within her own community, her own people.
Okie dokie. Well, before I leave, I want to go over a few house rules. Lights off at 10, no loud music, and no boys, ever.
What's the story about going into the local town?
Passes to Jericho are a privilege, not a right. It's a brisk 25-minute walk, or there's a shuttle on the weekends. The locals are a tad bit wary about Nevermore, so please don't go making any waves or perpetuating any outcast stereotypes. That means keep your claws to yourself and no smothering people in their sleep. Are we clear?
The girls stare.
Great talk.
So that professor is actually the first and only normie professor in the school. And I think she is highlighting that sense of othering. That's the perceptions of people outside of the school is perpetuating those stereotypes that people within Nevermore and people outside of Nevermore cannot be together. Like, she doesn't say, be mindful of how people outside of Nevermore might react to you. Watch out for yourself. Take care of yourself. She puts the nexus of responsibility on Wednesday and Enid. Don't be an outcast. Don't be weird. Don't take your claws out. Don't smother people in their sleep, but it's never any attention and the focus on the people outside Nevermore, their behaviors and their attitudes, and how those behaviors and attitudes actually affect the Nevermore students.
It's always that we have to adapt, and not that the world just has to get used to the fact that there are people who are different in the world.
Absolutely, 100%. I also think it's ironic that she is the kind of first normie teacher at the school. So the school is happy to be accepting and embrace someone who's different. And then she turns it right back around and perpetuates outdated, long-standing cultural biases.
Exactly.
Maybe an early hint that she's kind of not the most caring, well-meaning dorm mom. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stick around and consider watching another one of our videos. And if you like this type of content, hit subscribe. Consider subscribing. You know, we don't bite. Thank you for watching, listening, and learning.